so if you are in periods 1 or 4, it should be 2, 4 in your notebook. If we are in periods 5, 7, or 8, we should have 2, 5. We are doing perfect squares and square roots. Again, we are doing perfect squares and square roots. What I'm looking for is the perfect squares to be in your notebook. That should already be done. It was before this video, so you should have some sort of table that looks like mine or that looks like the one that is above this, right? That's what I'm looking for. And then we are looking at why we're doing this. So the reason that I want to do this is I want you to remember thinking back to area of squares. So if you think about area of squares, okay, we're going to do some examples. So if I give you a square and I tell you that one side length is 4, what would you tell me the area is? Hopefully you would say, well, it's 16, Miss Davy, because I would do 4 squared, or 4 times 4, and I would get 16. So if I do the same thing on another one, again, I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to tell you that it equals 6. Then the area of that square would be what? 6 squared, or 36. All right, so the reason that we want to look at that, though, is because what we're moving into next week is going to be looking at the flip of this. I'm not going to give you one side length. You're going to have to take the square root. So basically what that means is if I give you a square and I tell you the area of this square is 16 meters squared. Sorry. Let's go with feet and inches. So this would be feet squared and inches squared. Then that means that the area is equal to some number squared, right? Some number times itself, meaning 16 is equal to some number squared. And again, some of you are looking at your chart and going, well, Miss Davy, I already know it's 4. I want to remind you how we get that in case you need to see this later. So if we take the square root of both sides, again, that is a button on calculators, then that would be 4. So one side length would be 4 meters. Okay, so we're going to do another one. I'm going to give you a square, and I'm going to tell you it's 225 feet squared. So I want to know what one side length is. I want to know what one side length is. So again, we are talking about 225, which is our area of the square, equals some number squared. So the inverse of squaring is taking what's called the square root. Remember that radical that we've talked about? So x would be equal to 15. Now here is what I want to do. I want to do one that's not on your list. That way you can kind of get a feel for what that looks like. So if I tell you that you have a square and the area is 324 meters squared, again, in order to find what x is, you would need to take the square root of 324. So when I do that, I would get 18, and this would be meters. Great job.